taxpayer dollars going towards classes on so-called white fragility. Of course, this is in Seattle. It is designed to teach white people why they can't handle anything having to do with race. Tickets at $60 each reportedly selling out. The woman teaching the course, a professor who happens to be white herself and defines white fragility as, quote, a state in which even a minimum amount of racial stress becomes intolerable, triggering a range of defensive moves.
What's that mean?
Triggering has become a trigger word for me. When I hear triggering, I'm like, uh-oh, this conversation
You need a safe space?
is going off the rails. Julie, what do you think of this?
I read this article like 7 times.
To try and understand,
and
yeah.
And I don't get it. I'm now reading what was on the screen and I still don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm white. I don't even understand what defensive moves. I don't get it.
Okay, so this is another professor who is working on a similar thing, says because of their position of privilege and accustomed racial comfort, whites will display racial arrogance by denying, debating, trivializing racism or critical thought regarding racial conflict.
I still don't
Tony,
get it.
you can't understand. Basically, they're saying you're white, so you can't understand. There is something to that,
It's a continuation of the whole white privilege argument and movement, which is that you have so much that you don't understand how hard it is for other people. Look, you know what? These could all very well be legitimate social concerns. I'm not just so sure taxpayers have to accommodate the teaching of these lessons. So that's where I read an article like this and like usually am marginally confused, but then I'm like in my own head thinking, what is the public good that requires a taxpayer, a hardworking taxpayer who's already stretched? Our municipalities are already, and states are already going basically bankrupt because of all of their already prefixed obligations, the pensions and such, to toss in a class about making white people feel like charging, that's obviously a subsidy if taxpayers are going to be paying for it, to make white people feel like somehow because you're white you just don't understand how the world works.
I'm just concerned. I think that race relations in this country are really stretched right now, and we're not getting to the nitty-gritty of the real issues. We're navel-gazing at the things that are low-hanging fruit, like forcing classes or talking about safe spaces or whatever. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. What's really bothering people? How do we work through it and get beyond it so we can become a better country?
How do you do that, do you think? I mean,
we have to be honest with each other and be calm.
But
just be respectful. Ask a lot of great questions. It's just like any kind of adult conflict resolution. If you're fighting over something, what do you do to resolve that? You stop fighting and you start talking. I mean, you stop hashtagging.
What does it tell you that a class like this that is obviously somewhat controversial, why we're talking about it, what does it tell you that it's sold out? I mean, what are people looking for?
I think they want to talk. They're looking for a place to talk about these issues. It's in the forefront right now. I mean, look at, we've hashtagged ourselves, or you got people in the streets, you got police officers being, you got a lot of stuff going on in this country, and you still have a black president who every now and then will weigh in and out of certain issues. I mean, I think it is something to talk about. I think the sold out nature is they're looking for a place. How do we discuss it?
But I think in fairness,
who leads that conversation?
But yeah, and I mean, all seriousness aside, I do get what this is about, and I think it's about walking in other people's shoes. And
exactly.
And the reality is, as the mother of a white boy, he's not going to be subject to certain things that a black boy would be subjected to. That's just a reality of living in America today. And people may not like it, but it's the case. And so I think that the longer and the stronger we are about having that honest discussion, people may like it, they may not like it, they certainly probably won't, a lot of people won't agree with what I just said, but I firmly believe that he's got certain advantages a black boy wouldn't growing up in this country today. And I think the more we talk about it honestly, the better it is for everybody involved, for both sides.
So that's what it says to me. What does the sold out say to you?
I don't know. I was deferring to you on that. But the fact that this is taxpayer dollars spent and we're criticizing that fact, yet there's demand for it.
There's demand.
You have to take notice of that.
But it's to take one point of view. If it was to have an honest conversation, an open forum, a dialogue, maybe you could say there's some public good being fulfilled here. But this is one side, one opinion, one academic thought that taxpayers are now forced to pay for. It's not an honest discussion.
It's an opportunity, because if Sandra's right and they're signing up and it's a sold out class, then maybe it's an opportunity to talk about a broader issue rather than fragility or whatever. Okay. Still, no rest for the PC police. We'll go on with this. The Daily Caller is reporting West Virginia